Reactive training systems.
All right, guys. I've been teaching about RPE and RPE based training for a lot of years now. So I've been actually teaching about it since 2008, so almost 10 years. And there's stuff that people still get really, really wrong about it. And just, it's so commonplace for me to see people have discussions about RPE, whether pro or con, and think you really have no idea what this system is about, or what the tool is about and how to use that tool properly. So the first thing, and it's something that I've been talking about more in seminars and whatnot lately, this notion about how it feels versus being a rating of performance. So RPE is rate of perceived exertion, and I used to teach people that it's basically how hard did a set feel. You do a set, you put the bar down and ask yourself, well, how'd that feel? And that's still kind of the question that we ask in the vernacular, but that's not, I've stopped saying that because the way that I'm phrasing it is misleading to people, okay? It's not how did it feel, like this emotional, how did it feel? Oh, it felt really heavy in my hands. Like, it's not that. It's a rating of performance. It's always been a rating of performance. This hasn't changed. It's just that if you thought it was how heavy did it feel, you were doing it wrong. That's just the way it is. It's always been a rating of performance. That's why it's all benchmarked to a maximum effort. It's benchmarked to a grind amount, max effort lift. It's not benchmarked to it felt really heavy in my hands. It's benchmarked to a max effort lift, and it's how many reps are in the tank. So if you look at the chart and understand what you're looking at, then it's pretty obvious that it's about performance and it's not about your feelings. The other thing that I hear a lot is that RPE doesn't have a specific goal. And there's all of these like sub problems that stem from not having a specific goal. You're not able to mentally prepare for the session ahead of time. I get a lot of people who say that, I like to visualize what the weights will look like on my back ahead of time. I can't do that with RPE. I like to know what I'm going to lift, so the week ahead of time I can make sure, like, it's motivating, that I can make sure that my nutrition is on point and make sure that I'm getting my sleep and stuff like that. Okay, that's cool, and that's all tied back to not having a specific goal. You should have a specific goal if you're using RPE-based training. There's no question about it. There's no room for debate on it. You should have a specific goal. If you just walk into the gym and have no idea what you're going to lift that day, you're going to screw it up. The way that you use RPE-based training is that you have a target weight. You have a target weight, and it's based off of your previous performance. It's based off of something, and you work toward that target weight. Where RPE comes into play is making course corrections as you approach that target weight. As you're working up to it, you make course corrections so that you get to the ideal weight for the day. The whole point of training is to put the right weight on the bar and lift it the right number of times. That's it. And if you do that, then you're maximizing the results of your training. My whole thing about this has been that if you use an RPE-based system, in some contexts, that will help you get closer to putting the right weight on the bar. It will help mitigate the downside effects of being wrong. It'll help take advantage of upside opportunities of being right. Okay, so you should have a specific goal, and it's related to a target weight, and we can probably have a different conversation about how you should establish those target weights, but it's not rocket science. It's based off your previous performance. If you did 200 pounds for a triple the last time, then maybe you should set a target weight at 205 this time, maybe. Or maybe that was a long time ago, so you want to set the target weight at 200 again, or even slightly below if it was a long time ago. There's a bunch of different ways to do it. You can even percentage base your target weights, but RPE is your ability to have a plan and make course corrections to that plan based on emerging information. And I don't understand, first of all, it doesn't interfere with your ability to do your visualization. Having a target weight is really what you're after anyway, if you need that additional motivational factor, and if the possibility of changing the plan is enough to demotivate you from getting enough sleep or getting your nutrition correct, then maybe you weren't that motivated to begin with. The other complaint that I hear about is, if your warm-ups feel bad, that maybe you're warming up to your target weight, hopefully, and on the way up, we run into the same problem. The weights feel heavy, so maybe I'll down-regulate the weights for today. That's a real concern, okay? So even if you're not making the feeling error, it's a problem that sometimes warm-ups feel bad, The thing is, if you know that about yourself, then that's normal. So I can give you an example for myself. I have been doing front squats a lot lately. And in a lot of my blocks, especially more recently, I've included a single at an 8 RPE. And my last warm-up is, I always take it about 50 pounds less than my target weight for the single for that day. And I know that warm-up always feels a little bit junky. It just always does. That's not a cause for panic, because it always feels that way. And I know that it always feels that way, so I can just not panic about it. This is normal for me. And you may say, oh, Mike, well, you're an experienced lifter. I haven't been doing front squats that long. It doesn't take that much to figure it out. Some other things that I hear about RPE is basically that comparing yourself to a PR performance can lead to negative emotions. So the scenario works something like this. You go to the gym, you have this big PR performance, right? You have a good day, finally. First of all, good days shouldn't be that rare if you're on a good training program. Good training programs should lead to good performances in the gym. But you have one of these better than normal days, and you set a big PR. And that can lead to a negative emotion, because then forever after that, you're comparing yourself to that PR performance, and you go, oh, well, I'm not measuring up because, that was a real banner day. I understand where that comes from, but that's going to happen anyway. If you're predisposed to that sort of negative emotion, or that sort of negative comparison, or that sort of thing happens in your training program often, then that's going to happen to you anyway. If you have a goal weight of 300 pounds and you go to the gym and you have a really good day, and let's say you go 15 pounds more than that and you do 315, right? Which, by the way, if your target weights are accurate, that would be a really good day. Usually good days, you're going to go, +5, maybe +10 over your target weights, +15. That's going to be a really good day. Okay. Now you do 315 and you actually hit the RPE that's intended from the program, and you actually make the progress that is intended based on how the program is designed, or you stick to 300, which is your target weight, which is what you would do in a percentage-based scenario. And then you don't have that, stellar performance with which to compare yourself to. First of all, I think in that case, we're prioritizing a person's emotions over the effectiveness of the actual program. Second of all, even if that's not the case, what's going to happen if you're capable of lifting 315 that day, but you only put 300 on the bar? What happens in that scenario? Well, you smoke the 300, okay? You still had a banner day. That still happens, and you still have this stellar performance with which to compare yourself to, and which to feel bad about if you're predisposed to that sort of negative emotion. That still happens. It's just that now it's happened, and you didn't take advantage of this opportunity when it was there. You didn't set a PR, and you didn't maximize the results of that particular training exposure. But, hey, well, at least you don't have a PR to compare yourself against. It's just that the next time that you attempt 300 and you don't smoke it because you had a normal day in that scenario, then now you can just feel bad about it, and you don't have any upside. It doesn't seem like a good plan to me. The other complaint that I hear all the time, is that people are inaccurate with their ratings. And people love to pick on Instagram about this. There are people on Instagram that post videos and it's clearly a 10 and they called it an 8. Like, first of all, who cares, man? Like, it's their lift, it's their training, and probably you're not familiar enough with their training to really give them a rating on their RPE. Like, it's like we talk, there's a bit of doublespeak that's going on here, right? First, you can't judge RPE that accurately, in yourself or others. And then I see videos of people lifting and they can't judge their own RPEs. Like, well, maybe the problem is you. Like, maybe you just can't judge RPE that well, because I don't know why. It doesn't seem to be that difficult of a skill to master, to be honest. And I mean, I'm even aware of some research that looks into people's ability to rate their own RPE and comparisons to velocity measurement devices and stuff like that. It's not that difficult a skill to master, Like, do you want a novice to base their entire training off of their perceptions? Well, no. But nobody's recommending that. So, first of all, we need to figure out what exactly the problem is, what exactly the complaint is, because if people are inaccurate with their ratings, then that's on them. If they post videos on Instagram rating their RPE inaccurately, well, that's on them. It's not that difficult to do. If you know what the lifter's lifts look like, you can judge it reasonably accurately. Let me give you an example. If you watch Brian Sider's squats, some of his top squats, he appears to smoke the lift, right? But if you watch enough of his squats, you know that that's how Brian lifts. His lifts are fast, so you would take that into account when you're rating his RPE. That's a normal thing to do. That's something that all coaches do. When you're in a meet and they smoke their second attempt or they, however they lift their second attempt, you're going to look at that attempt and decide how much they have left in the tank. That is essentially what RPE is about. It's just that we use some different language in some cases and have some different descriptions, but that's essentially what you're doing. You're watching a lift and you're analyzing it. On the other end of the spectrum, a lifter that I've been working with for a while now, Rory Alter, is a real grinder, and in particular her deadlifts. If you watch any of her deadlifts, they look difficult, but if you know how difficult it could look, then you can judge her RPE accurately. So if you don't know that and you just watch Rory's lifts and you see that she posted a deadlift of a single at an 8, and you look at it and go, that wasn't an 8. Well, you don't know how slow she can go. You don't know how much that lifter can grind things out. So you've got to know those things in order to be an accurate judge. Another question I heard more recently is that, I don't think about reps in the tank. When I put the weight down, like I don't think about, I could have done one more, I could have done 2 more. Hey, that's fine. That's the vernacular that, I use and that I've promoted because it seems to be a really easy heuristic for people to grasp. If you're experienced and you have a different heuristic, something that I've done more recently, when I'm looking at singles especially, I try to think of it in terms of how much or what attempt did that look like? Did it look more like an opener? Did it look like a heavy opener? Was it more of a second attempt? Something like that. Because I'm experienced in a meet setting and I know what those lifts look like and I know what they should look like. And it's helpful to build that skill so that you can use it in a meet setting. Now, I don't talk about that very much and I don't promote it very much because people are confused enough about RPE as it is. Okay, but if that's something that comes naturally to you, then by all means, But one of the benefits of RPE is that it's supposed to help us communicate clearly. And if you're having trouble understanding the bare bones basics of an RPE-based training approach, then adding in increasing complexity with different ways of rating different lifts, then that seems like a bit too much. Let's master the basics before we start introducing that sort of thing. Then the final complaint that I hear about quite a lot is the inaccuracy of estimated 1RMs. That if you use an RPE-based approach, that the reps that you do, the weight on the bar, and the RPE can be used to generate an estimated 1RM. And from that estimated 1RM, we know something about your capability. And I kind of fail to see what the drawback to this is. I guess maybe an over-reliance on the estimation, but that's not a fault of the system. That's a fault of the application of the system. If the estimated 1RM is inaccurate, there are ways to fix that. First of all, probably the most direct way to fix it is to customize your RPE chart. So I can tell you that if you do a single at an 8 RPE, for most people and most lifts and most of the time, that's going to be 92.5%. But if you're not one of those people, that's going to lead to an inaccurate estimation. Okay? And if you're inaccurate with your RPE rating or something like that, then yeah, I can see how that leads to inaccuracy in the estimation. However, it is an estimation, and it's not. You make estimations anyway, whether you intend to or not, whether you call it an estimation or not, whether you use a percentage chart or whether you use some other method, you make estimations anyway. This is just a systemized approach to doing it for people who may not have the same skill sets as high-level coaches or something like that. Okay, so if you are a high-level coach and you've developed your eye to the degree that you can watch somebody do a single at, say, an opener level weight, so say around 90%, you watch them do a single and you can tell within a couple pounds how much they're going to have left on a third attempt, then you don't need the chart. Congratulations. You have a rare and valuable skill set. If, however, that's not you, then using a chart leads you to a better estimation than you otherwise would have. And if it does lead you astray in some way and it produces some sort of inaccuracy, then by all means, fix the chart, change it so that it leads to a better estimation next time. That's how the system is supposed to work. So there's more that I can say on all this stuff, and I'd love to talk to you about it more. I'm clearly agitated by a lot of this stuff because, like I said, I've been teaching this for a long time, and I'm not sure if people are getting it or not. I think I see a lot of people who do get it. I think that there are some holdouts that don't, and it's not 100% clear to me who is legitimately misunderstanding things and who's intentionally misunderstanding them. So that's something, a different topic for a different day, perhaps. But thanks for watching this long ranting video. Hopefully you learned something from it, and hopefully if you were doing one of these things that is using the tool incorrectly, that you can fix that, use the tool correctly next time, and that should lead you to putting the right weight on the bar, lifting it the right number of times more often, and hopefully you'll set more PRs at a meet that way. I don't see why you wouldn't. Thanks for watching.
Reactive training systems.